What would you do if the people laughing at you had no idea you controlled their entire future? Before we dive into this incredible story, please hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Heartbound Stories. We love hearing from you, so drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support means everything to us. Now, let's begin. The night air was thick with expensive perfume and whispered secrets. Inside the Sterling mansion, crystal glasses clinked together like tiny bells. Everywhere you looked, there was gold. Gold on the walls. Gold on the tables. Gold dripping from the huge lights hanging from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls. This was not just a party. This was a show. A show where rich people came to prove they were richer than everyone else. Dr. Maya Carter stood outside the massive front doors. She wore a simple black dress. Nothing flashy. Nothing that screamed for attention. She looked at her watch. 8 o'clock exactly. Time to walk into the lion's den. She pushed open the heavy doors and stepped inside. For just a moment, everything got quiet. Heads turned. Eyes narrowed. Then the whispers started, soft and sharp like knives hidden in silk. Who is that woman? Did someone bring their assistant? I think she's lost. Maya heard every word. Her face stayed calm, smooth like still water. She had learned long ago that silence was more powerful than shouting. Let them talk. Let them guess. They would find out soon enough. She walked across the shiny marble floor. Her shoes made soft clicking sounds that seemed too loud in the quiet that followed her. The crowd parted slightly, not to welcome her, but to avoid touching her, as if she carried some invisible disease called poverty. At the center of the room stood the Sterling family, surrounded by admirers like a king and queen holding court. Richard Sterling, the father, was a tall man with silver hair and a smile that never reached his eyes. Beside him stood his wife, Catherine, dripping in diamonds that probably cost more than most people's houses. Their 2 children, Marcus and Sophia, stood nearby, both looking bored and superior at the same time. Maya moved toward the bar. She needed water, not alcohol. Tonight she needed to stay sharp. "Excuse me, miss." A voice came from behind her. She turned to see Marcus Sterling, the son, looking at her with barely hidden disgust. "The staff entrance is around the back. Through the kitchen." Maya looked at him for a long moment. His eyes were the color of ice, cold and hard. "Thank you for your concern," she said softly. "But I'm exactly where I need to be." Marcus blinked, surprised that she had spoken back. Nobody spoke back to a Sterling. "I don't think you understand," he said, his voice getting harder. "This is a private event. Invitation only. And I definitely don't remember inviting you." "Memory can be a tricky thing," Maya replied. "Especially when you never paid attention in the first place." A few people nearby stopped talking. This was getting interesting. Sophia Sterling glided over, her expensive dress swishing like water. She had her mother's sharp features and her father's cold smile. "Is there a problem here, Marcus?" she asked, but she was looking at Maya like she was examining a bug. "Just explaining to this woman that she's in the wrong place," Marcus said. Sophia's smile widened. "Oh my goodness. Did you get confused? The catering company should have given you better directions. The help always enters through the service doors." The people around them started to laugh. Quiet laughs at first, then louder. Maya stood perfectly still, letting the mockery wash over her like rain. "I'm not catering staff," Maya said simply. "Then what are you?" Sophia asked, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Entertainment? Are you supposed to sing for us? Dance?" More laughter. Louder now. People were gathering, sensing drama the way sharks sense blood in water. Catherine Sterling appeared, her presence commanding immediate attention. She looked Maya up and down with the kind of stare that could freeze fire. "Young woman," Catherine said, her voice like steel wrapped in velvet. "I don't know how you got in here, but this is extremely inappropriate. Security will escort you out." "Before you do that," Maya said calmly, "you might want to know why I'm here." Richard Sterling himself walked over now, curious about what was causing such a commotion. He looked at Maya with the expression of a man who had never been challenged in his entire life. "This is amusing," he said, chuckling. "Do tell us, mystery woman. Why are you here? Did you crash our party hoping to meet a rich husband? Is that it?" The crowd roared with laughter. Someone actually clapped. Maya didn't flinch. She didn't look away. She simply reached into her small black purse and pulled out her phone. "I'm here," she said quietly, her voice somehow cutting through all the noise, "to finish some business." Richard Sterling's smile grew wider. "Business? My dear confused woman, do you have any idea who we are? We are the Sterling family. We own half the businesses in this city. What possible business could you have with us?" Maya looked at her phone screen. Then she looked back up at him. "The kind of business that's about to change your life," she said. "Forever." Marcus laughed out loud. "This is ridiculous. Someone call security." "Actually, no. Let her stay. This is the most entertaining thing that's happened all night. Please, mystery woman, tell us about this important business." The crowd pressed closer, everyone wanting to see what would happen next. They expected her to break, to cry, to run away in shame. That's what people like her were supposed to do when people like them pushed back. But Maya Carter was not most people. She looked around the room slowly, meeting eyes, memorizing faces. All these rich people, drinking expensive champagne, wearing clothes that cost more than some people earned in a year. They had no idea. Not the slightest clue. "Tell me something," Maya said, her voice carrying across the marble hall. "How much did this party cost?" Sophia laughed. "More than you'll make in your lifetime." "Interesting answer," Maya said. "But not accurate. You see, this party cost exactly $6 million. The champagne you're all drinking? $2,000 per bottle. The flowers decorating this room? Flown in from Ecuador this morning. $50,000. The orchestra playing softly in the corner? Another $100,000 for the night." The room had gone quiet again. How did this woman know such specific details? Richard Sterling's smile faded slightly. Anyone could guess those numbers. "I'm not guessing," Maya said. "I'm stating facts. Facts I know because my company approved every single expense." Catherine Sterling's face tightened. "What are you talking about?" Maya took a slow breath. This was the moment. The moment everything would change. "My name is Dr. Maya Carter," she said clearly. "And I'm the CEO of Titan Capital Holdings, the investment firm that has funded the Sterling Empire for the past 7 years. The company that currently holds $5.3 billion of your family's money." The silence that followed was so complete you could hear hearts beating. Then Marcus started laughing. But it sounded forced, nervous. "That's impossible. Titan Capital is run by... We've never even met me," Maya finished. "No, you haven't. I prefer to work behind the scenes. Through lawyers. Through contracts. Through carefully worded documents that people sign without reading too carefully." Richard Sterling's face had changed, the color draining away like water down a sink. "This is some kind of joke," he said. But his voice shook just a little. Maya smiled. Not a cruel smile. Not a happy smile. Just a smile that said she knew something they didn't. "Check your phones," she said softly. "All of you. Right now." And that's when the real nightmare began. Phones started buzzing everywhere. Not just one or two. Dozens of them. All at once. Like 1,000 tiny alarm bells ringing through the fancy ballroom. People reached into their pockets and purses. Rich men in expensive suits. Women covered in jewels. All of them staring at their screens with confused faces. Then the confusion turned to something else. Fear. Sophia Sterling looked at her phone first. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. The color drained from her face like someone had pulled a plug. "Dad," she finally whispered. Her voice was so quiet, so scared. Dad, something's wrong with our accounts. Richard Sterling grabbed his own phone from his jacket. His fingers were shaking as he unlocked the screen. What are you talking about? What's wrong? Everything, Sophia said. Her voice was getting higher, more panicked. All our bank accounts. They're showing zero. No, wait. They're showing frozen. Frozen. Marcus practically threw his chair aside as he yanked out his phone. He tapped the screen over and over, like hitting it harder would change what he was seeing. This has to be a mistake. Some kind of computer error. This can't be real. But it was real. And it was spreading. Around the ballroom, other guests were making small gasping sounds. Whispered conversations turned into worried shouts. Someone dropped their champagne glass. It shattered on the marble floor, but nobody even looked. They were all too busy staring at their phones in horror. Catherine Sterling stood frozen, her diamond necklace catching the light as her hands trembled. Richard, my accounts too. Every single one. What's happening to us? Maya Carter stood in the middle of all this chaos. She didn't move. Didn't panic. She just stood there, calm as still water, watching everything unfold exactly as she had planned. She looked at her watch. 9:03. Perfect timing. Let me help you understand what's happening, Maya said. Her voice wasn't loud. She didn't shout. But somehow, in that moment, her words cut through all the noise like a knife through butter. Everyone stopped talking. Everyone turned to look at her. 3 minutes ago, Maya continued, I made a phone call. Just one call. To my chief financial officer. I gave him a very simple instruction. 3 words, actually. Pull it all. Richard Sterling's face changed. The fear in his eyes mixed with something new. Rage. Pull what? What did you do? $5.3 billion, Maya said calmly. That's what I pulled. Every single penny that Titan Capital Holdings invested in your companies over the last 7 years. Gone. Withdrawn. Removed from your accounts as of 3 minutes ago. The room exploded. People were shouting now. Some were crying. Others were making frantic phone calls to their banks, their lawyers, their accountants. Marcus stormed toward Maya. His face was red, his fists clenched. You can't do that. That's our money. Our family's money. Maya didn't back away. She didn't even blink. Is it your money? Are you sure about that? She reached into her small black purse and pulled out a thin folder. It looked so ordinary. Just some papers in a manila folder. But what was inside those papers would change everything. Maya opened the folder and held up the first page. This is the contract your father signed 7 years ago. Section 12, paragraph 4. I'll read it to you since you clearly never bothered to read it yourself. She cleared her throat. In the event of ethical violations, moral misconduct, or breach of conduct agreements, Titan Capital Holdings reserves the absolute right to immediate withdrawal of all invested capital without notice or appeal. Richard snatched the folder from her hands. His eyes raced across the words on the page, back and forth, looking for something, anything, that would save him. But there was nothing. It was all there, in black and white, in language so clear a child could understand it. This is ridiculous, Richard said, but his voice shook. Our lawyers would never agree to terms like this. Your lawyers agreed to exactly these terms, Maya said. Do you remember 7 years ago? Your company was drowning. You were about to lose everything. You needed money fast, and you didn't care where it came from or what strings were attached. You told your lawyers to make the deal happen. Any deal. At any cost. So they did. She pulled another paper from the folder. And here's my personal favorite. Section 18. This one's even more specific. Maya's voice was steady, strong, like a judge reading a verdict. Any act of discrimination, harassment, or demeaning behavior demonstrated by Sterling family members toward representatives of Titan Capital Holdings will result in immediate contract termination and full capital withdrawal. Catherine's hand flew to her mouth. Representative? What representative? Maya smiled. Not a happy smile. Not a mean smile. Just a smile that said she'd been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Me, Maya said simply. I am the representative. I've always been the representative. Tonight was a test. Your final test. She looked at each member of the Sterling family, one by one, making sure they understood. 2 years ago, I sent someone to your company. A young woman. Smart, educated, professional. She came with concerns about your business practices. She had documentation showing you discriminated against employees based on race. That you paid women less than men for the same work. That you refused to work with minority-owned businesses even when they had the best bids. Maya's voice got quieter, but somehow more powerful. Do you remember what you said to her, Richard? Richard said nothing. He just stared at the floor. You said, "We don't take advice from people who wouldn't understand real business." You said it to her face. You dismissed her. Laughed at her. Had security escort her out of your building. The ballroom was so quiet now you could hear people breathing. So I decided to come here myself, Maya continued. I wanted to see if anything had changed. If you had learned anything. If maybe, just maybe, you had become better people. She gestured around the room. At all the shocked faces. At the Sterling family standing there looking broken and confused. But you haven't changed at all. You saw me walk in tonight and immediately assumed I was staff. You mocked me. You insulted me. You treated me like garbage. Why? Because I'm black. Because I'm a woman. Because I didn't fit your narrow little idea of what powerful people look like. Sophia was crying now. Real tears streaming down her face, ruining her perfect makeup. Please, we didn't know. We didn't understand. We can fix this. Just give us another chance. Maya shook her head slowly. I gave you chances. Multiple chances over 2 years. You threw every single one away. Richard's hands were trembling as he held the contract papers. What do you want from us? Money. More money. Name your price. This isn't about money, Maya said. Her voice was sharp now, cutting. This is about respect. About treating human beings like human beings. About understanding that your money doesn't make you better than anyone else. She pulled out her phone and held it up. Right now, as we speak, $5.3 billion is being transferred. But not to my personal accounts. Not to make me richer. Then where? Marcus demanded. To the Future Fund, Maya said. It's a global organization that helps young entrepreneurs who've been denied opportunities because of discrimination. People with brilliant ideas who can't get funding because they're the wrong color. Women who are told they're not smart enough to run companies. Immigrants who are turned away before anyone even listens to their dreams. She looked directly at Richard. Your money, all that money you earned by keeping others down, is going to lift them up. Your fortune is going to build the futures you tried to destroy. The other guests in the ballroom started backing away from the Sterling family. Some were already heading toward the doors. Nobody wanted to be connected to this disaster. Being associated with the Sterlings now would be social and financial poison. Catherine reached toward Maya with shaking hands. Please, can't we discuss this privately? Work something out? We'll do whatever you want. No, Maya said firmly. You humiliated people publicly. You destroyed lives publicly. Your consequences will be public too. The world needs to see that cruelty has a price. That you can't treat people badly forever and expect no punishment. Richard's face turned red. Anger was replacing his fear. You think you're some kind of hero? You're destroying thousands of jobs. What about all the people who work for our companies? Maya's expression didn't change. The jobs will be safe. The companies will continue. But under new management. Management that values people. Management that treats workers with dignity. Management that understands success isn't just about making money, it's about making lives better. She walked toward the grand staircase. Her footsteps echoed in the silent ballroom. Everyone watched. Nobody spoke. They were witnessing the fall of an empire, and they couldn't look away. At the bottom of the staircase, Maya turned back one final time. Maya stood at the bottom of the grand staircase. Behind her, the Sterling family looked like broken statues. Around them, their wealthy friends were quietly slipping toward the exits. Nobody wanted to be part of this story anymore. She looked at the family one more time. Really looked at them. These people who had seemed so powerful an hour ago now looked small and scared. "You want to know the saddest part of all this?" Maya said softly. "It didn't have to happen this way." Richard Sterling's voice was hoarse. "What do you mean?" "I gave you so many chances," Maya explained. 2 years ago, when my representative first came to you, that was your first chance. If you had listened to her, really listened, none of this would be happening right now. You would still have your money, your power, your empire." She took a step closer to them. 6 months ago, I sent another warning. Through your lawyers. A formal letter explaining that your discriminatory practices were putting your funding at risk. Do you remember what you did? Marcus looked away. He knew exactly what they had done. "You laughed," Maya said. "You actually laughed. You told your lawyers to ignore it. You said, and I have the email, nobody tells the Sterling family how to run our business. Well, tonight someone did." Catherine's voice was barely a whisper. "We were wrong. We know that now. We're sorry." Maya studied her face, looking for real remorse, real understanding. But all she saw was fear of losing money, fear of losing status, not genuine regret for the pain they had caused. "Are you sorry for what you did?" Maya asked. "Or are you sorry that it finally caught up with you?" Catherine opened her mouth, but no words came out, because they both knew the answer. Maya turned to address the entire room now. The reporters who were filming everything. The remaining guests who were too shocked to leave. The staff members peeking in from doorways. "Let me tell you all something important," she said. Her voice carried through the massive ballroom. "Real power isn't about money. It isn't about big houses or fancy parties or having your name on buildings." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Real power is about what you do with your influence. How you treat people when nobody's watching. Whether you lift others up or push them down." The Sterling family chose to push people down for generations. They built their empire on the backs of people they considered beneath them. Sophia was sobbing quietly now. Marcus had his head in his hands. Richard stood stiff and silent, like he was waiting for a storm to pass. Catherine kept reaching for things to hold on to, her diamond rings catching the light as her hands trembled. "My grandfather was a janitor," Maya said suddenly. "He cleaned office buildings at night so my father could go to school. My father worked 3 jobs so I could go to college. I became a doctor of economics. Built my own company from nothing. And you know what I learned along the way?" She looked directly at Richard. "I learned that people like you would always see people like me as less than. No matter how smart I was. No matter how hard I worked. No matter how much I achieved. Because to you, success has a color. And it's not mine." "That's not fair," Marcus protested weakly. "We're not racist. We've never." "Never what?" Maya interrupted. Her voice was sharp as glass. "Never said racist words out loud? That's not enough. Racism isn't just about words. It's about actions. About who you hire, who you promote, who you give opportunities to, who you treat with respect." She pulled out her phone again and scrolled through something. "Your company has had 800 employees over the past 5 years. Want to guess how many were black? 17. That's 2%. In a city where 20% of the population is black. The numbers hung in the air like accusations. How many women in leadership positions? Maya continued. 4. Out of 63 management roles. And those 4 women. They all made 30% less than men in the same positions. Marcus tried to speak. The market determines salaries. We pay competitive. Competitive for who? Maya cut him off. The market is what companies like yours decide it is. And you decided that women and minorities weren't worth the same as white men. You made that choice. Every single day. A reporter in the corner was writing frantically. This story was getting bigger by the second. By tomorrow, the Sterling name would be known across the world. But not in the way they had always wanted. Here's what happens next, Maya said, her voice becoming businesslike. Professional. This was the CEO speaking now, not the woman they had insulted. Your companies will be transferred to new ownership within 48 hours. The workers will keep their jobs. In fact, they'll get better jobs. Better pay. Better treatment. She tapped her phone screen. I've already lined up new leadership teams. Diverse teams. People who actually understand that a company's strength comes from all kinds of people working together. Not just people who look the same and think the same. Richard found his voice again. It was different now. Desperate. What about us? What are we supposed to do? Maya tilted her head. You'll survive. You still have your homes. You have some money left in personal accounts. Enough to live comfortably for the rest of your lives. You just won't be rich anymore. You won't have power anymore. You'll be ordinary. Ordinary, Catherine repeated the word like it was a curse. Yes, ordinary, Maya said. Like the millions of people you looked down on. The people you treated like they didn't matter. Maybe being ordinary will teach you something valuable. Like empathy. She started walking up the staircase. Each step echoed through the silent room. At the top, she turned around one final time. The whole ballroom stretched out below her. All those shocked faces looking up. The money you lost tonight isn't disappearing into nothing, Maya said. Her voice filled the space. It's going to change lives. Real lives. A young black woman in Detroit who invented a new kind of solar panel but couldn't get funding? She's getting it now. A Latino man in Los Angeles who created an app to help immigrants learn English? He's getting it now. A team of women in Atlanta who designed affordable medical equipment for rural hospitals? They're getting it now. Tears were streaming down several faces now. Not just the Sterling family. Some of the guests, too. The staff members watching from doorways. Even some of the reporters. Your empire fed exactly one family, Maya continued. Your empire. Your wealth. Your legacy. But the money that came from your empire? That's going to feed thousands. Tens of thousands. Maybe millions, if these entrepreneurs succeed. She gripped the railing of the staircase. So thank you, Sterling family. Thank you for being exactly who I knew you were. Thank you for proving that some people never change. Because your refusal to change gave me the legal right to do this. To take everything you built on cruelty and transform it into something beautiful. Richard's voice cracked. You've destroyed us. No, Maya said firmly. I've redirected you. I've taken your resources and aimed them toward good instead of greed. That's not destruction. That's justice. She began walking down the other side of the staircase, toward a different exit. Away from the crowd. Toward fresh air and freedom. Wait, Sophia called out. What are we supposed to tell people? How do we explain this? Maya stopped. She didn't turn around, but her voice carried back to them. Tell them the truth. Tell them you treated someone badly because of the color of her skin. Tell them you got caught. Tell them you lost everything because you couldn't see past your own privilege. Tell them that in the end, respect matters more than money. Then she walked through the doorway and disappeared. Outside, the night air was cool and clean. Staff members who had been listening through windows and doorways gathered near the service entrance. As Maya walked past, they began to clap. Softly at first, then louder. Some were crying. Some were smiling. One older woman, who looked like she had worked at the mansion for many years, reached out and touched Maya's arm. "Thank you," the woman whispered. "Thank you for showing them." Maya squeezed her hand gently. "Thank you for staying strong all these years." Her car was waiting at the end of the long driveway. As she walked toward it, she could hear sirens in the distance. Probably reporters calling for backup. This story would be everywhere by morning. She got into her car and pulled out her phone one more time. Messages were flooding in. From her team. From the Future Fund. From people she had never met but who had somehow already heard what happened. One message made her smile. It was from her father. "Your grandfather would be proud," it said. "We all are." Maya typed back quickly. "Just getting started. This is only the beginning." Because it was true. The Sterling family was just one example. There were hundreds of companies like theirs. Thousands of people who needed someone to stand up for them. Millions of stories that needed to be told. As her car pulled away from the mansion, Maya looked back one time. Through the huge windows, she could see the chaos inside. The Sterling family surrounded by reporters. Guests fleeing. Staff members finally able to witness the downfall of people who had treated them like furniture for years. Justice, Maya thought, sometimes comes quietly. Sometimes it comes slowly. But when it finally arrives, it changes everything. The car turned onto the main road. Behind her, the mansion grew smaller and smaller. Ahead of her, the city lights sparkled like promises waiting to be kept. Maya smiled. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Tomorrow, they would start building something better. Something fair. Something that valued people for who they were, not what they looked like. Tonight had been about accountability. Tomorrow would be about opportunity. And she couldn't wait to get started.